Jamal Musiala is one of the standout players in his national team, wearing the number 10 jersey for Germany, but if he wanted to, he could be playing for another team. He was born in Stuttgart to a German mother and a Nigerian father, but he moved to England when he was very young, where he was a Chelsea youth player and played for the English national team for almost his entire youth career, including the U21 team in 2020. However, he ended up leaving Chelsea for Bayern before even making the professional team, and he also decided to play for Germany. The player thought about this decision for years and chose the land where he was born, following his heart. Thus, he became the youngest player to represent the German national team in a major competition when he played at the Euro 2021. Imagine this already good English squad, if it had Musiala too, right? And now, talking about England, one of the stars of this team is Declan Rice, who did the opposite of Musiala and chose the English team after having played for the Republic of Ireland national team. He was invited to play for Ireland because of his Irish grandparents. He then played for the country's youth teams until he played for the senior team in 3 friendly matches. In this photo, Rice is for the Irish national team, marking Mbappe. The reason he made this choice was because he started to stand out at West Ham, and then the England national team showed interest. The Irish were so afraid of losing Rice that the coach even said he would build a team around him, with him as the main player to keep the guy. But there was no way. In 2019, he made the switch, and since then, he has been a starter in this star-studded English squad. And he was only allowed to make this switch because he had only played for Ireland in friendly matches and not in an official competition. So it's kind of hard to blame him for choosing England, right? It makes sense because he was born in England, grew up there, but the Irish didn't like that at all. And if there is one great player who had options for the national team, it was Aubameyang. He was born in France, but has a Gabonese father and a Spanish mother, and was trained at Milan's youth academy, even playing for Italy's U19s. But the invitation from the French youth team was more appealing to him, and he decided to play there, playing in a friendly match for the under-21 team. However, he didn't play for the French national team for long, because Alba's father was also a player and represented the Gabon national team as captain. And so, Pierre followed in his father's footsteps, and in 2009 made the switch to playing for the African country, an honorable choice, worthy of respect, representing his father's country. Another player who had this same respectful attitude was Dumfries, the fullback we know for his performance at Inter Milan and for his outstanding performance in the Dutch national team in the last World Cup. However, few people know that he also played for the Aruba national team. Yes, Dumfries is Dutch, born and raised in the Netherlands, but his father is from Aruba, a Caribbean country. At the age of 18, he played a few friendlies for the Aruban national team. However, his biggest dream was to play for the Netherlands. Since he was young, he had already put his career goals on the walls of his bedroom. One of his goals was, "One day, I will play for the Dutch national team." And that came true. Even after those friendlies for Aruba, years later he had opportunities in the Dutch youth teams and made his debut for the senior team in 2018, being a key player in the World Cup. Now, one player who decided not to play for his home country was Rakitic. He was an idol and a multi-champion at Barca and Sevilla. And if you don't know, yes, he was born in Heinfelden, Switzerland. However, his parents are of Croatian origin, so he played for the Swiss team for most of his youth career. But he ended up switching to Croatia while still in the U21s, and then he ended up playing for the Croatian national team for more than 100 professional games. And it was a great decision because he was part of the best Croatian generation in history, as one of the great players from that Croatia who reached the final of the 2018 World Cup, despite having already retired from the national team in 2020. And now we continue with Inaki Williams, a native of Spain, but with African origins from his Ghanaian parents. He started out in the youth ranks of the Spanish national team and was even called up to the main team, but only played one friendly match. His situation is peculiar because he had refused to play for the Ghana national team. But 6 years after making his debut for Spain in that friendly match, he changed his mind and decided to represent the Ghanaian national team, even participating in the World Cup in Qatar with the Africans. This change of decision was mainly motivated by the desire expressed by his grandfather, who apparently was short of time to live and dreamed of seeing his grandson play for Ghana. So, given the few opportunities in Spain, he did not hesitate to move to another country. An interesting fact about his younger brother, Inaki Williams, is that he did not follow in his older brother's footsteps and continues to play for the Spanish national team. Kevin Prince Boateng is another example. He is German, the son of a Ghanaian father, and has been involved in the German youth national teams since he was very young. His Berlin roots are not forgotten. He grew up in the city, but his strong personality, which has always characterized him, did not align well with the mentality of the German national team. It is important to mention that Germans generally prefer to follow strict rules. This energy eventually led him to leave the team to avoid causing trouble and to avoid being frowned upon within the team. He then followed in his father's footsteps and chose to represent the Ghana national team. We come to the case of Brahim Diaz, which has many similarities with Inaki. He is Spanish, born in Malaga, but has Moroccan ancestry. However, he chose to play for Spain in the youth teams, participating in the U21 Euro Cup, and also being called up to the senior team, although he was a reserve, right? His debut for Spain only came in the friendly against Lithuania, when he even scored a goal. Despite this, he did not have many subsequent opportunities and ended up choosing to play for Morocco, where he could be a key player and even wear the number 10 shirt for the national team. In an interview, he said that he felt 100% Spanish and 100% Moroccan, but he added that he listened to his heart to make this decision, also mentioning the Moroccan national team's project and the affection that the fans showed him. Now just imagine if he had made this decision earlier and had been part of the incredible Morocco that reached the World Cup semi-finals. Now a player with a curious case, Miles Svilar, has started to stand out recently, especially after De Rossi took over as Roma coach. Since then, the young goalkeeper has not left the starting lineup and shone brightly at the end of the season. Svilar was born in Belgium and represented the Belgian youth teams during his childhood. However, despite fears of having few opportunities in the Belgian senior team, influenced by his Serbian father, he accepted an invitation to play in a friendly for Serbia in 2021. Svilar was still a promising player, often on the bench, but now he was in good form, being called up again by Serbia and seemed destined to play in the Euros. However, he refused. He decided to return to the Belgian national team. However, he represented Belgium in the youth teams, switched to Serbia, and now wants to return to Belgium. And according to the Belgian coach Tedesco, he cannot make that return. The coach said that the Belgian national team's legal team said that Svilar cannot be called up by the senior national team anymore. So not only will he not be able to play for the Belgian national team, but now the Serbian coach also didn't like his attitude. Next on the list is Zaha. He is a great player and has scored many goals in the Premier League for Crystal Palace. He is Ivorian and has no European relatives. However, he arrived in England very young, just 4 years old, and ended up playing for the entire youth team, including the English national team. He played for the English first team in 2 friendlies, and then he decided to change and play for the Ivorian Coast, an act of honor. After all these years, the Ivorian people supported him in every situation. However, in England, he would have been a great player in the squad because he is a skilled player. But in the Ivorian Coast, he did not have much connection with the rest of the team due to the lack of communication between the players in the squad, perhaps because he does not speak French very well. The penultimate player on our list is Sebastian Haller. He is of Ivorian descent, but was born in France and grew up in Paris, where he completed his training with French clubs. Haller was called up to the French youth teams from the U16 to the U21. However, he had never been called up to the senior French national team. When he received the offer to represent the Ivorian national team, he accepted. He has that wonderful story of overcoming adversity, in which he won a battle against cancer. And soon after, he went to play in the Africa Cup of Nations, and he was the hero of the Ivorian team, scoring the winning goal in the final. And now, the last player on the list, another who followed exactly the same path as Declan Rice, Jack Grealish. He was born in Birmingham, England, but he also has Irish ancestry and played in the youth teams of the Irish national team. But for reasons of belonging, because he considers himself more English than Irish, he decided to make the switch while still in the U21s to play for the Three Lions. But it took him a long time to make his debut, okay? He was a number 10 in a stripe at Aston Villa, but only started playing for the England first team in 2020 when he was almost 25 years old. And today, when he is called up, it is almost always as a reserve. But tell me if you would prefer to be a reserve in a big team or a regular starter in a weaker team. Grealish made his choice.